Society often needs a reminder of the darker times that frequent the pages of history, times when the truth is blinded by injustice and prejudice, when people are brought to their knees by desperation, when madness and hatred overcome reason, and the world comes face to face with the possibility of its own destruction. Sometimes there are stories that must be told lest they are forgotten. Stories that can inspire change and advocate for the people that fall victim to the injustice and inequities that plague society. Ben Shahn combined a unique artistic and social vision to provide a voice for those who needed it most. While his paintings and murals were aesthetically pleasing, Shahn's greatest contribution is that he purposely captured the ugliest moments of much of the 20th century in his art, hoping that his paintings would remind the world of the urgent need for social reform.
Every painter tells a story. Every painter tells a story. The condition of the human being is the story that I'll tell.
Ben Shahn was a leading influence in the social realism movement which emerged in the American art world in the early 20th century. His artwork gave strong definition to the genre through passionate portrayals of the human strife and social injustice that defined the human conditions of his time. His life's work provides a virtual roadmap of the inequities and periods of discord prevalent in society spanning the early Depression years through the turbulent 1960s. In the conventional art world, where paintings were primarily appreciated for their aesthetic qualities, the notion of using art as activism was a foreign concept. Shahn felt passionately that art should appeal to more than the mere aesthetic senses, that it could and should be used as a vehicle for change. Shahn's avid interest in political and social reform was undoubtedly rooted in his childhood. He was born in 1898 into an Orthodox Jewish family in Lithuania. During his early years, he witnessed brutal incidents of religious persecution and political terror aimed at Lithuanian Jews under the Russian Tsarist regime. When Shahn was merely 4 years old, his politically active father was arrested and exiled to Siberia, leaving Ben, his 2 younger siblings, and their mother alone in a hostile environment. The family escaped this desolate life, however, when they immigrated to America in 1906. Growing up in the slums of Brooklyn, New York, further sensitized Shahn to social inequity, while his family struggled to build a new life in an alien culture. It was in America where Shahn's love of drawing flourished, but his struggle to become an artist would be long fought. At the age of 15, economic necessity forced Shahn to learn a trade for the financial support of his family. He was installed as an apprentice at a lithography workshop, and by the age of 19 was a master lithographer with a promising future in the field. Shahn's strong passion to pursue his artistic education and aspirations, however, soon drew him away. After attending classes at 2 New York colleges and the National Academy of Design, he committed himself to the life of a struggling young artist. Shahn's passion for art and his commitment to social reform first collided at the outset of a sensational and purportedly flawed legal case of the late 20s, a time of intense anti-immigrant sentiment in America. In 1927, Nicola Sacco and Bartolomeo Vanzetti, 2 Italian immigrants, were convicted and executed in Massachusetts for the murders of a paymaster and his guard in an attempted holdup. News of the trial aroused worldwide protest because it seemed to be riddled with procedural errors and biased decisions. Regardless of Sacco and Vanzetti's guilt or innocence, the protesters maintained that the men were sentenced to death because they were admitted anarchists and radicals, and not because they had committed murder. Outraged by what he saw as an unjust and prejudiced decision in the Sacco-Vanzetti case, Shahn compiled 23 paintings that celebrated the condemned men as martyrs. This popular series of paintings brought Shahn critical acclaim that thrust him firmly into the forefront of the social realism movement. The Sacco-Vanzetti case also spurred Shahn's desire to chronicle the trials and tribulations of the individual through his art, a pursuit that would frame the direction of his later forays into the realm of social realism. His desire to connect and communicate with people was never more apparent than in his work during the Great Depression era. In 1935, Shahn was hired by the Farm Securities Administration to photographically record the devastation of America's farmlands in an effort to garner public support for President Roosevelt's New Deal programs.
I pledge myself to a new deal for the American people.
Shahn soon realized that photography could be utilized as a powerful instrument to aid his art. His photographs became blueprints for his paintings, allowing him to capture personal and realistic characteristics of his subjects, and thus evoke a more emotional response from the viewer. Shahn's photographs and artwork depicting poverty-stricken rural life of this period were hugely successful in promoting the goals of the Farm Securities Administration, and in satisfying Shahn's need to disseminate his own social statements. Shahn also went against the established conventions of the art world by drawing upon his background in lithography and experimenting with poster art throughout his career, visually articulating powerful messages for labor unions, government agencies, and political campaigns, but only when the subject matter paralleled his own liberal beliefs. His most powerful and controversial posters were created during World War II while working for the Office of War Information, an agency established to promote patriotism and organize propaganda campaigns for the war. Shahn's paintings graphically portrayed images of the horrors and brutality of the war, but because they showed the unembellished truth and lacked a sense of patriotic optimism that was preferred by the OWI, only 2 of his posters were published. Though disappointed with the lost opportunity to disseminate his ideas, Shahn's time with the OWI taught him the value of mass production of art as propaganda. This revelation later led him to frequently accept commercial art assignments in an effort to implant his ideas of liberal reform into the public eye. Shahn created illustrations to accompany articles for popular publications in an attempt to bring awareness to various issues ranging from coal mine disasters to civil rights. One such opportunity would lead to the creation of what Shahn considered his finest achievement as an artist, an opportunity that allowed him to communicate his most heartfelt message yet, a message warning of the human consequences of the hydrogen bomb and the precarious arms race between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. In September of 1957, Shahn was asked to illustrate a series of articles by atomic physicist Ralph Lapp. The voyage of the Lucky Dragon dealt with the fate of the crew of a Japanese fishing trawler caught in the radioactive fallout from an American hydrogen bomb test in the Pacific. The crew all suffered from radioactive sickness, and one of them died after a long, painful illness. Learning of the Lucky Dragon incident impassioned Shahn to create 11 emotionally charged paintings and numerous drawings on the subject that were exhibited in both America and in Japan, and received worldwide critical acclaim. The series of work would be the crowning glory of a brilliant career. Ben Shahn died on March 14, 1969. His lifetime spans decades that were ripe with social and political conflict and reform. Throughout his lifetime, he experienced firsthand the hardships of immigrants striving to make a new life in America. He witnessed the oppressive effects of the Great Depression and worked with the federal government to promote a new deal for the American people. He lived through 4 major wars and saw the horrors the advent of nuclear weapons would bring.
This notion of injustice haunts a good deal of your work, doesn't it?
Well, this is my training, this is my background. I can't help it. These injustices, when they came along, came within my ken, immediately became the material for me to work with.
Whether the subject of his artwork was labor strikes, unemployment, nuclear weapons testing, or civil rights, Shahn never abandoned his commitment to bringing social and human issues to the American consciousness. He proved that an artist can be engaged in important moral issues and express profound social messages while still remaining true to his artistic creativity. Along with this knowledge, he leaves to this world a legacy of artwork that helps us better understand the human conditions during the greater part of the 20th century. A legacy that instills in us a compassion for those that suffered during these times, and an admiration for those who dare to take a stand against injustice and push for social reform.